Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Auto Bravado channel. Today, I'm here with this 1993 Mazda Miata. Let's get into the review. Alright, so let's talk Mazda Miata. So for all you enthusiasts out there, this is the NA Miata, which lasted from 1989 to 1997. 8 model years, of which existed 2 powertrains, the 1.6 liter from 1989 to 1993, and then with the advent of the 1.8 liter from 1994 to 1997. And normally I don't like to take modified cars, but then again, I have to point out this roll bar, these wheels and tires, and various other things that have been done really enhance the look of this car as well as the performance. You know, wider tires, wider rims, has better handling, and best body roll. And you know, the thing is, when it enhances the experience like that, you know, it really creates just that much of a better driving experience. And I just have to talk about the exterior, the design, and I normally don't like to touch too much on this because styling is generally objective. But the thing is, this car has remained relatively muted as far as styling goes. Obviously, the NA Miata has pop-up headlights and such. But I mean, there's no crazy aggressive lines or curves. I mean, there's a style line along the bottom, which leads from the front quarter panel all the way to the rear and through the door. But it's just really surprising because they've actually aged so well. And now I want to come over to the door area, and what's always been really interesting to me is the door handle. So you want to get in the car, you just slide 2 fingers or 1 finger depending on the size of your fingers. You go ahead and pull on the little latch and you can open the door. And now I want to come to the back of the car here, where, as you can tell, the back end is a relatively simple design. And what's really amazing is, I mean, the taillights. You have your signal, you have your brake light, and your running lights in the rear. It's really surprising. All right, so now I want to come to the front of the car, where, as you can tell, there's 2 windshield washer fluid jets located on the hood just before this plastic cowl. And something that's always been really interesting to me, the fact that they didn't integrate these washer jets into the plastic cowl to really give it that style for style sort of sake here. And it's always been very interesting to me because everything on this car has always remained relatively peculiar to me. Everything from, I mean, the places for the hardtop mounts, and just everything else. I mean, it's always been very interesting to me. I mean, this was Mazda in the 90s. All right, so before we move into the interior of the Miata, I just have to point out the key. And obviously, you'll know this is not the original key. And the owner tells me that he's actually has the original key. And something that you'll know is that Mazda made the keys for these cars relatively poorly, so they would break off in the ignition. So the owner ended up making 3 copies. That way he didn't have to use the original key. Alright, so now we're going to get in the relatively small interior of the Miata. So we're going to place our little thumb in here. We're going to open up this really light door. We're going to hop in. Now that we're in here, I just have to point out this is a tight feeling interior. I don't mean to overuse the phrase, but this car really fits you like a shoe. And what's really surprising is just how comfortable it actually is, considering how small of an interior it is. And I just have to come in here because this is probably one of the most timeless gauge clusters, because if you look at the tachometer and the speedometer, it's wrapped in a nice little aluminum trim. I just think it looks so cool, and it really gives this car that nice little touch that you just love. All right, so we're gonna take off the steering wheel right now. It's a detachable steering wheel. I wanna come over here down this little area here, and as you can tell, you know, part of the gauge cluster has sort of come off. And again, I wanna talk about the fact that a lot of the keys, a lot of the original keys actually break off in the ignition, and a lot of Miata owners know this, especially the NA Miata owners. Obviously have the top off right now and everything, but I just have to point out there is really not all that much space. I mean, this is a 2-seater car after all. The main focus was the enthusiast market. I mean, this is the driver's car from Japan, so you know, I would expect nothing less. And something that you'll probably never find again, especially in a car that's been so used. This one's only sitting at 123,000 miles, and if you know, that is really low, especially for these NA Miatas. I mean, after all, this car is from 1993, so it is almost you know, 30 years old. So it's really surprising. It really is. So now when I'm over here to the door panel, and something that's really interesting, it looks, you know, fairly, you know, plain, and you know, that's the whole point about it. Everything is focused on the driving feel. I mean, you have a little handle here to push on the door to open, a relatively normal door pull, which does look relatively interesting. And the one thing that I love, a lot of people from the 90s would know, especially in these 90s cars, roll up windows. Gotta love that. So now I want to talk about the dash, and it's a relatively straightforward dash. You know, it's a straight line across. It's nothing crazy, no swooping lines, no aggressive cuts in the dash, just super simple. And it's so functional, and it's brilliant, and it's timeless. These dashes have aged so well. And the thing is, you know, without, you know, modern infotainment systems, it does age this car obviously a little bit. And I just have to show you now, and you're probably all waiting for it. We go over here. In between the climate control vents right here, go ahead and click this little button and the pop-up headlights pop up. How cool is that? And it still works on this model. And so now I'm sitting over here on the passenger side of the Miata, and something that's always been really interesting to me is the transmission tunnel. And you know, it's really amazing because it doesn't actually take up that much space. As far as knee room and leg room goes, you're not cramped. And this is one of the smallest interiors you'll probably ever find in a car ever again. It's just really amazing. It really is. The amount of space they've been able to save with this interior being as small as it is. All right, so now I want to fold up the top here, and it's soft top obviously, and it doesn't weigh that much. So now it's up, and all you need to do is go on the inside, put 2 latches, and you're good to go. And now that we're inside, we can go ahead and push these 2 little latches here on either side, and the latch is closed. We can go ahead and close the door here, and the entire car is sealed up, and you can do that in about 30 seconds. All right, so now we've got it on, and as you can tell, it's relatively quiet. It just hums away. You don't have to worry about it, but I've just got to do this right here. Here we go. It sounds really good. It really does. And being a 30-year-old motor design, it runs so well. I mean, some of these have made it to almost 300,000 miles with obviously leaking oil and whatnot, but they've always been proven to be a reliable motor. And you know, they've been tracked, raced, destroyed, rebuilt. It's really amazing, and it's all the reason why the Miata has such an amazing cult following. And as far as the shifter goes, in prior engagement isn't exactly what I was expecting. It is relatively notchy, so you can't exactly slam shift it. And after all, this is a 5-speed with no overdrive gear. I mean, because all of these gears are usable, every single one, which is nice because you're actually going to be able to use them. But it's a really nice transmission. But as far as the clutch goes, it's really smooth. And you know, once we drive it, you'll see the engagement and everything. But you know, it's a really easy car to drive manual in. It's probably, and I know this is just my opinion, but probably one of the easiest cars to learn manual on. It's a very forgiving clutch, transmission. You know, it's low power. You don't have to slip the clutch that much to pull away from a stop. All right, so now we're getting under the hood of the 93 Mazda Miata. So this is the last year for the 1.6 liter, and it develops 113 horsepower and 99 pound-feet of torque, and it's all sent through a 5-speed manual transmission. Well, we've taken an in-depth look at this 1993 Mazda Miata. Now it's time to take it out on the road for a drive. All right, guys, we're gonna hop in to the Miata and take it out on a drive. Here we go. Put the steering wheel on. Here we go. All right, all locked in. Put our belt on. All right, we're all strapped in. Here we go. We're gonna start it up. Starts right up. That's awesome. All right, here we go. We're gonna take off here. Yeah, the engagement is really surprising actually, because I don't exactly know how to explain it. It's just super smooth, And it also doesn't give you the idea, okay, where is the engagement point? It kind of just comes up on you, I guess, rather abrupt. So it's very interesting. And it feels really tossable. It really does. I mean, you're just driving along, and I mean, if you need to change lanes instantly, you can snap right over to the next lane. It's really astonishing to me because I've never driven a car with this little body roll. Actually, there's, well, none at all that I can see. And what's really amazing to me is the fact that everything's so easy to use. And this is a 30-year-old car. There's no modern transmission aids, electronic throttle. There's nothing like that. And it's amazing because I mean, you can drive it normally. Mark II. Oh my gosh, he's smoking. Oh my gosh. That's gnarly. Come on. It's so much fun. You go through every gear. Listen to this. And we're just driving along here, and there's this MR2 absolutely going insane, and you know, we're keeping up and everything, but man, I am absolutely surprised by this thing. It just keeps revving, and you can go through every gear. It's really amazing. I will say you really have to keep it high up there in the power band, just to get the power out of it. I mean, but then again, that's the whole fun of it. You're working for that power. The waiting for the power is the whole entire experience, and that's how you enjoy it. And this thing comes alive. Really insane. I mean, it handles so well. It's really surprising. I mean, the steering rack feels excellent. This shifter, I mean, this car is a true amount of fun. Oh my gosh, man, it really is insane. If you have the opportunity, go drive a Miata. I mean, seriously. Unbelievable. Absolutely. Man, this thing is a whole world of fun. You feel so connected. Everything is so analog feeling, and it just makes you feel amazing. It really does. It's absolutely amazing fun. I mean, listen to this thing. I mean, this thing comes alive. It's got that rasp, and it feels amazing. And you let off that sound. Unbelievable. I mean, this thing is a whole world of fun. And I have to say again, don't hate on a car until you've driven it and fully experienced it. And this is just a prime example. There's a lot of preconceived misconceptions about this car, and it really is truly amazing. I mean, the tires, I mean, that added effect is really amazing. It really is. And the shifter really feels great. This has a short shifter on it, so it's not the stock type of shifter on here, so it doesn't give, you know, the original feeling. But the thing is, with these modifications, it is just fun. And I mean, you can pick one of these up for, you know, $5 grand in decent condition, and you can use it all day. All right, so we just pulled over and we put the top up and everything, and what's really amazing is it's very, very windy on the outside, even with the top down. You would have thought, okay, this is 1993. They would have a lot of preventative measures to control the wind noise in the cabin, but okay, now we have the top up, so we don't have to worry about that. My gosh, that is unbelievable fun. That is Oh my gosh, that sound is unbelievable. This is a 4-cylinder. That's awesome. That really is. See, down low, it kind of lags a little bit, but then again, this is a 1.6 and it's 99 pound-feet of torque. And the cam isn't too aggressive as to the point where you're getting a lot of mid-range torque in the mid-range of the RPMs. But I mean, once you get it all the way up to the top, which is where most of the fun is, you really start to understand the reason this car exists, why it's so fun. And a lot of people really don't understand the Miata, and some people never will. But for those of you who do understand, it is an absolute treat of a car. See, we're in 4th gear here. We're gonna come into a turn. No oversteer, no understeer. You can cut right in. It feels really good. I don't know if you just saw that, but there was a moth just hanging out up here on the dash. We got it out and everything, but it's funny what makes its way into the car while you're driving with the windows open. And what's really interesting is I feel so comfortable just sitting in the seat, and I feel boxed in. I mean, you don't really need, like, you know, Recaro seats, but they do help to a point. But I mean, these seats are sufficient though. That sound is unbelievable. It feels so raw, so visceral, and unrefined. For $5 grand, you get this much of a driving experience. And I know I've said this before about a lot of cars, you know, like the Toyota Solara. That's a convertible that you can get for practically nothing. But the thing is, this thing is just that one step better. And you know, they made so many of these NA Miatas, especially with the 1.6s, that, you know, I assume they won't go up in value. But the thing is, this really is a proper sports car, and get rid of all of the positive or negative connotations associated with it, and you are left with a fine example of a sports car. And it's 30 years old, and we won't be seeing cars like this again because of crash regulations, you know, roll bar, whatever, this, that, and the other. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the Miata is one of the best handling sports cars ever put on the road. And with that, guys, we're going to end this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had an absolute blast driving this car. This car is an icon, and I've enjoyed it so much. I hope to see you guys back again here soon in the next video. See ya.